tease with the XFC concept, or that's what the C actually stands for, introduced, that was in 2022. Then in 23, it was introduced, or rather launched in Southeast Asia. And now in 2024, here in the Philippines, this is Mitsubishi's XForce. This car actually, although new, most definitely, marks two very large things for Mitsubishi in the Philippines. Number one, the last time that they had a car of this size, a small SUV or a crossover, as you and I like to call it, was in the form of the ASX. Number two is the transmission on this car, which marks as a very first for Mitsubishi in the Philippines. But before that, let's get into the exterior design of the car, shall we? The dynamic shield up front is, as you would call, an evolution. An evolution? Bring it back, please. An evolution of the dynamic shield. And this is the language that they're going to continue with the cabin cars here on out. It's large, it's squinty eyes, and it seems very, very tall. Jack and I were having a discussion about this panel right here, whether we were into it or not into it, and the only thing that Jack and I came to an agreement with is at least it's not chrome or piano black, which is a good thing. So it does somewhat stand out and blend well at the same time. You've got very unique DRLs up front, a large pattern for the lights. It kind of looks like Thor's hammer. What I love about the front clip, though, is the hood. It doesn't end abruptly. It's got this clamshell look to it, and it blends really well with the front of the car. I quite like that. Down the side, you have 18-inch wheels, which are available on both variants of this car, which we'll get to a little bit later, as well as the two-tone color scheme that you see. There will be 4 colors in total, but all of them, whether it's the lower variant or the top variant, are all two-tone, such as this. You're looking at 193 millimeters of ground clearance, repeaters on your side mirror. Unfortunately, I'm already noticing that there are no cameras here, so there isn't a 360. But I have noticed that there is a reverse camera at the rear. Speaking of which, I cannot get away from the fact that the rear looks very, very futuristic, like it belongs on a concept car because of how smooth and just pretty it looks. The taillights mimic the lights up front, and you've got exhausts that are hidden underneath. Jack pointed out that this car has one thing that even my Montero doesn't have, which is, if I can find the button, a power tailgate. To which I said, yeah. Now, when you remove the tonneau, which is pretty cool actually, because it's nice and soft and foldable. And then you can use it as a sun guard on the windshield. While we don't have exact figures of just exactly how big the rear is, Jack and I estimate it to be about 400, a little bit more than 400 liters of space. Very good space, mind you. Those that might think that it's a bit difficult because the bottom is low, the beauty about it is that this comes up, and then what you have is a flat lip so you can slide things inside. How many balikbayan boxes can you fit in the trunk? And when you fold the seats, unknown, but if you stick around to our channel, subscribe, I promise you that when we do get this car for a proper behind the wheel, we'll do all those tests for you. Let's have a sit inside. Much like the exterior, there is a two-tone color inside. You've got dark and light colored on the leather seats. There is a decent amount of headroom for persons like myself. That's more than my hands width. The legroom is quite generous. That's my normal driving position. Stop it, Jack. I'm not that short. That I can definitely fold my legs. Center tunnel, very, very low, very flat, almost flat really. And although this car is basically the same size as a Yaris Cross and a Creta, it seems like the space inside the cabin for now looks like it's very, very generous. So if there were 3 people back here, it wouldn't be the greatest of fit, but I think it would actually be okay. Toys back here include 2 air vents found here up front, which is nice. You have 2 charging points, Type C and Type A, getting on with the times. I like that. You've got a little holder for mobile phones here at the back. Look at that. Oh, that's so cute. You know, that's actually more helpful than you think, really. The seats have isofix anchors, as you can see here by the signs. And then obviously you have a center armrest that comes down with two cup holders. This is the third seat, so the whole thing does plop down, which makes getting things from the back a heck of a lot easier.
Similar to the expander.
You're right, it is similar to the expander. You know, there is also something else very similar to the expander in this car, which we'll get to in just a bit. Now on to the business end of the XForce. Let's start from top to bottom, shall we? All the way to the top is what I'm talking about. No sunroof. You do have your lights and then your seatbelt warnings up on top. Not an auto-dimming mirror, but it is adjustable. The dash is low enough. You're seated at a fairly high position that the dash seems like it is quite low, and you can see the top of the hood and over that. This infotainment screen and your instrument cluster is quite large, but it's kept low enough that it doesn't impede your view. You have a 12.3 touchscreen infotainment system and an 8-inch screen here as your instrument cluster. Thank you very much, Jack. The cool thing is that you have Apple and Android capabilities, CarPlay and Android Auto, but they're both wireless, which is actually really cool. Same with the charger that's found down here. You have a panel here that it's not corduroy and it's not jean, but it's a different material altogether, and it doesn't seem like it stands out too much. It does well to incorporate itself with the car. You do have a bevy of piano blacks found all over the vehicle, like the buttons on the steering wheel are all piano black. The panel of the air controls, although they're not the buttons mainly, but that's piano black. And also, yes, Jack's pointing it out already, near the shifter, it's all piano black also. So there is a lot of piano blacks inside this car.
But you know, cars over the years have really toned down on the piano blacks.
They have.
Remember when cars would have this entire thing of it?
Yeah, it would. But you can't deny that the piano black, although there's also more pala on the where the window controls are. Although they are magnets for thumbprints and whatnot, it's just, it looks a lot prettier. But like we said, we have to stick to one thing, which is that we're not huge fans of piano blacks. But hopefully we'll be a huge fan of the car for everything else that it has, including this thing on the screen where it's reminiscent of the Pajeros, really, because it's got so much information that you can find. You can even have a driving score put there. It doesn't tell you how to drive, but it tells you how efficiently you drive, how less of a mind that you turn the steering wheel and whatnot. So that's actually pretty cool. One of the main features of this car are the drive modes. It's got a dry mode, it's got a wet mode, it's got a mud mode, which, yeah, there. Wet, normal, gravel, mud. Now, I did ask what would be the difference, let's say, for example, from wet and normal. And what they've told me is that it's not just how the car accelerates and whatnot, but even the steering input is there, how much traction it allows the car, because on dry, it gives it more traction to get on with as much as possible. When it's wet, it slows the traction down a little bit on certain tires to give more traction to others. So it's not just a mode that doesn't mean anything. Modes that don't do anything, rather. It has a purpose. The top of the line is also equipped with a bevy of advanced driver assist systems like blind spot monitoring and adaptive cruise. Although I'm not a fan of it, Jack is. Good for him. At least it's there.
One day, I'll make you love adaptive cruise control.
No.
You'll see how nice it is.
I'm saying yes to the adaptive cruise control, right? It works fine. I get it. But it's just that I'm not ready to relinquish control of it, the car, just yet. So imagine me in a self-driving vehicle. I don't think I could do it. I just need control all the time. Don't tell my wife. Now, earlier I mentioned that it does have a similarity to that of the expander, which is this, the Power Mill, which is a 1.5-liter 4-cylinder naturally aspirated gasoline engine that produces 103 horses and 141 Newton meters of torque. The big difference in the XForce is that in the Expander, it's mated to a 4-speed automatic transmission. The thing that I also mentioned earlier, the first for Mitsubishi in the Philippines, the transmission of this car is a CVT. Now, while the Expander already has a decent report card when it comes to fuel consumption, I expect this car to do a heck of a lot more because of that CVT. Last and most important piece of information, its price. The GLS, the lower variant, comes in at 1,367,000 Philippine pesos, while this GT variant comes in at 1,581,000 Philippine pesos. Now, I can tell you that if you head on over to AutoDeal.com.ph or download our app, which is really cool, by the way, available on iOS and Android, you can get our app and get all the information that you need about this car. Prices, specifications, colors, and even connect you to the dealer closest to you that can give you the best car at the best price. Thanks for watching, everyone. Stay safe. I'll see you guys soon.